Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Sequel. We are doing our favorite, one of my favorite things we get to do during the year is at the end of every year, we look back at 2023 and we pick out our Mount Rushmore of, top sequels, best, worst, characters, best, worst, and a little other things sprinkled in here and there. And man, 2023 was a fun year. And I can't wait to talk about it. But I can't mention everything that we did between Lethal Weapon 3 and 300 Part 2 Electric Boogaloo until I introduce you to my partner in this sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how are you?
Great, Doug. What's going on with you?
What a year. The crowd is excited. They are here. They're they're ready for the pumps and circumstances of giving out the awards. Sounds aren't working, but just pretend there's cheering.
And I know you said the Mount Rushmore. Oh, wait.
Okay, guys, keep it in your pants. Okay,
that's some crowd. That's a lot of people.
That was a lot.
So I know you said Mount Rushmore, but there's a lot of things this year that definitely are very far from the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Now a lot of bottom, like you said, looking back at 2023, it was a weird year. It was like we talked to some amazing people, just some of those amazing people. The films that were great that they worked on just happened to be non-sequels, so we don't cover those. But it was still like, even using the Mount Rushmore term, it's just top four. Now there's some that it's really, I don't know what the opposite of Mount Rushmore would be, but
maybe a garbage dump,
or Mount Rush least. Or less.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I honestly feel like they were more bad than good this year. I know we're the good, the bad, and the sequel, but I would say this year, I mean, other years we've had more good. This year was more bad. Just basically just going back from the beginning of the year to now. It's funny. A lot of the movies I forgot about. Like, that's how bad they were. Or maybe just neutral. Like, I just didn't leave that much of an impression on me.
No, I agree. No, and what's so crazy because, this is episode 301. So we just celebrated 300 episodes. So it's crazy. This was the 1 year, and I don't know what it was. It was just, yes, it seems so long ago. Like you said, when you went back to look at the list, it wouldn't have thought, like, I remember Lethal Weapon 3, but I totally, in a way, forgot like Star Wars, Ewoks, Battle for Endor. So there's so many of those movies that we covered that I was like, oh my God, that was this
I
year?
thought that's exactly what it was. I thought those movies were last year. Like, I didn't realize we actually, that's how, like, again, doing it that we do a whole year of this. I really thought some of these movies were done in 2022. And so I was like, wow, like, am I looking at the right list? Because it just seems like we did it so long ago. So yeah.
Unreal. So let's get started. I think we should obviously not start with, like, what do you think? We start with something good?
I think so. I think, you want to go into the year you want to end on a positive note. You want to go into the year with a positive note. So, there were some positives. So I think we got to talk. I would say, let's go big. Let's go the top 4 best movies that we enjoyed this year.
Okay. All right.
And I'll start with my first one, which thinking of after I wrote it down, and then after thinking about it, I'm like, it's got a lot of negative to it. Not as great as I thought it was when I watched it again, but it's still a top movie because of the character and the movie itself. But I thought it was better years ago than it was now. And I'm going with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That's your number 4? You're going 4 to 1, right?
Honestly, I didn't even do that, but you know what? I'll do that. I'll make that my number 4. I wasn't even ranking that, but looking at my list, I'm gonna make that number 4. And like I said, because I love the Indiana Jones trilogy. I love the character. The movie is good when it's good, but it's just not as good. It's almost like the Superman 2 of what I remember it being as a kid. I used to love Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, but it's just, there was something missing when I watched it again, but it's still a good movie. You got to put it up there. So that's the number 4 for me.
Yeah. So that's on my list. It's not number 4, but again, this for me, it's a little. It's not. It's a little different. But there's some movies that I watch, and it's just like that. I like fall into this universe, and I enjoy the movie so much, and I love the silliness of the characters. And my number 4 sequel that I've never seen before, but I'm so happy that we got to cover it after I talked with director Sam Irvin. Oblivion 2. It's one of those movies that I couldn't stop thinking about because it was so weird. It was like this space, like sci-fi spaghetti western. You had like Sulu in it and Catwoman. There are all these like silly things in it, and to me, it was fun and it moved. And yeah, so that's my number 4
Okay.
for 2023.
Okay. All right. Well, now since I didn't rank them, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna say number 3. Um, and this one we didn't interview someone for, and it was a movie that I brought up that I thought was very good, and I'm gonna go with The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
Oh, nice.
I thought that movie, I watched it as a kid, and then watching it again, that movie holds up. I mean, it's an old movie, and I thought the movie was extremely entertaining. And that just shows you. We watched a lot of movies that were fairly recent, and this movie that was made 40 years ago,
I know.
is better than them. And I thought, like, just the special effects alone. I mean, for a movie that was made so long ago, were pretty awesome. So yeah, that's number 3 for me.
Yeah, and the jokes too, like when they get onto the boat. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really. Now really happy that we were able to cover that. And I think in 2024 we'll do a couple of hall passes again. The reason we were doing that because of the writers and the actors strike, but I think it worked out good because we were able to cover some movies that we would never have covered. And that's my next one that we didn't you use your hall pass on. You just mentioned it, Temple of Doom. I think it has like one of the greatest opening sequences. Even though there's so many silly things in the movie, it's just great. Short Round is a phenomenal character. It was a shame that he wasn't brought back for more of them or got his own spin-off because he was just so good and he saved Indy so much. So that's my number 3.
Agreed. All right. So number 2, I'm going for the sequel.
Close. I think we're going to be close on these two, I think.
Well, so far it's been, I mean, again, I think, but first of all, I got news for you. Indiana Jones made a few lists on this. So, I'll be mentioning Indiana Jones a few times, but for number 2, it's a movie that I never saw, and I was shocked because it's a movie that followed a great sequel. I mean, a great movie, like one of the top horror movies of all time. And it was and again, I'm not a horror fan, but Psycho 2 was so much better than I expected it to be. And and I think it was a very good follow-up to a sequel, to a top movie. So that's my number 2.
Wow, that was not my number 2. My number 2 is a movie that again, we were picking movies that we wanted to do, and I just so happened our friend of the podcast, frequent reviewer, Nick, went and grabbed a bunch of sequel tapes from me while he was in Philly, and it's a movie that it's a sequel that the whole series people should see. FX2 really just so has the comedy, and it's like one of me and Jamie's like favorite genres, like accidental action guy. Like when they're like put in these situations when Bob's who's like in a marketing agent, and out of nowhere he just like has to learn how to use a gun and be put in these situations. So that's my number 2. Now I'm fascinated to hear what your number 1 is. What's your number 1? Wait. Let's set it up for the drum roll. All right?
Okay. So my number 1 is a movie that there's quite a few sequels to, and I think there's a lot of them that I'd never seen, but this one is very. I enjoyed the series, and at least like 3 of them, and the character makes these movies, and I'm going with American Wedding. I think,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, again, between Stifler and Jim, just it's such a like the gags in the movie are so good, and it's again the first like 3 or 4 whatever movies are great. I never saw all the other ones without the characters, but yeah, I'm going to American Wedding. It was very entertaining. I mean, you're never going to beat that dance scene. That dance scene
Oh
alone is
no, I
just
know.
amazing. And just Stifler, just his lines and everything. So yeah, I'm going American Wedding.
That's a solid one. That's surprising. No, not like in a bad way, because it is a great movie. But yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, so my number one sequel from 2023 is Psycho 2. I think it's one of the best sequels of all time. I really put it up there with the Aliens of the world. The reason being, like you said, it followed up a great movie and it was like this fresh story. And it's a shame that they changed what the ending was in 3 to try to fit this better narrative for people that were like fans, or I don't know who I don't know, but I loved it. It was so
Yeah.
good. Dennis Franz, there was just all these good characters within it, and great twist. The fact that they were like messing with him, and it was good. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. So yeah, so that was the sequel. So what do we go next? Do we do another positive, or we do a negative? Or
No, we counter we don't negative, but I just wanted to say, not bad. We have 2 of the out of the 4 that we have
That's
in our
good.
top 4, so that's not bad. Bet on. So
That's
this
fair.
one, I think we're gonna have some similar ones. I hope. But yeah, why don't we do the 4 worst sequels, and you go
All right.
first.
I will go first. So the 4 worst sequels of 2023. This one is on a list for everyone when it comes to. So it's not even just our 2023. It's like the all-time list. Mortal Kombat 2. There's so many things that could have worked with the movie. Like we talked with Margine, and we talked with Brian Thompson. So we've talked to people involved in the movie, and they obviously had great experiences. But like Margine, a lot of her things got cut, and just the cheap looking special effects, and I don't know, it just, and killing Johnny Cage in the first, before the credits was, before the title card, not cool. So that's my number 4 for you.
You know what? I mean, now that I think about it, that easily could have made my top 4. It didn't.
Wow,
And
it's a
I got
rough
to tell
year.
you, well, my top 4 of worst ones, they can go in any order. I mean, I absolutely hated all these movies. And I'm going to try to pick the worst ones. I'm gonna go with Blair Witch for the worst movie. I think it was. I mean, listen, I hated the first one, so I'm not surprised I hated the second one. But just the characters weren't likable at all. The story I thought was horrific, and the fact that they just kept going, even though like there was one thing after another. The movie was awful. I thought it was just a movie that just. The first one wasn't that great, and they definitely didn't need a sequel. So I'm going with the Blair Witch.
Yeah, that's
4.
my number 3. Yeah, number 3 is Blair Witch for me because you know what? Again, there's so many times movies have opportunities to be so good, and it just didn't work out. It just.
Well, I don't know if this one. I don't know if this one had an opportunity to be good.
No, I just
but
like the cat. Like honestly, like it's a really good. The cast of actors, like 2 of the 4 leads are like really good actors and actresses. Like the one was on The Following. She went on to be like on The Tick, like a bunch of good shows. And the other guy, he's in a bunch of stuff too. It's so hard to follow up a movie that the reason it was so good because it was before like the internet and people like actually knowing that it couldn't have happened. But that first weekend buzz of that first movie was so huge. But to use the direct sequel to just be like him finding the sister who somehow the redneck people, and then they never explained it to us. How did the redneck people get a tape of someone that looked like his sister in the house? Right.
well, not to mention like so the second movie is also found footage or no? I
I
don't
don't know.
remember.
Book of Secrets. I don't know. I never watched it. They rushed
No,
that.
no,
It
no,
came
no,
out, like,
no. The
within a
one,
year.
the one we covered was that. Is that
Oh,
considered?
the one we. It's
No.
sort of found footage because they're looking at the. It is. Yeah.
Okay, whatever. All right. Anyway, you know what? Like I said, I think you're right. I mean, I saw the movie, the original one, after I already knew it wasn't real.
Yeah.
So yeah, the buzz was obviously made the movie what it was. People thought it was a real story. So yes, I get that. But that was obviously everybody was hoodwinked. On that aspect of the movie. That's the only reason people watched it. They didn't watch it because it was a good movie. You don't even see anything. You know, like you see a lot of snot coming from the girl and just crying. That's it. You know, so I mean, yeah. Anyway, I'm spending way too much time on this movie. All right, what's your number 2?
Number 2 for me. Did you say you're number 3?
Oh, did I? No, I didn't. I said Blair Witch. Oh, I only said number 3.
Yeah,
that was your. Okay,
that was my number 3.
Oh, okay. So we're even in that one, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so we're on the same. Okay.
Oh no. That was my number 4.
You
I'm
said
sorry.
number 4. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my number 3 is Halloween 3.
Oh wow.
Oh come on, that movie is awful. I mean, again, the fact that it's Halloween makes no sense. The fact that these stupid masks that this is the only good thing about the movie. I mean, when you have an annoying song as the best part of the movie, then that's a problem. Okay, the whole storyline is awful. The fact that you're banking on kids wanting there's only 2 masks or 3 masks, so you think everybody's gonna have the same Halloween costume for the entire, like, it just, the whole thing is stupid. It was just awful, and not to mention it doesn't make sense that the fact that bugs come out of the mask from hearing the, so like, you know, so yeah, it was just bad. It was bad.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, my number 2 is probably, my guess would be it's your number 1, but we might be the same. I bet you the next 2 are exactly the same. No joke. Tokyo Drift is my number 2. It's just, I don't like racing movies anyway, but I think that what makes the movie even worse from when I originally saw it was the fact that they tried to tell the fans of the universe, just to keep Han alive, oh no, this movie actually takes place later, but in this movie they're using flip phones. So they're trying to tell you, hey, here's this movie that's in this very technically advanced country, but they have phones that are 10 years prior, just so we tell you to. So silly. And the dad smelling when he walks in the room and says, have you been racing? It's like, come on, man. But yeah, number 2, easy.
Same with me. It's number 2.
Woo!
And
our number 1s are the same. I bet.
I don't think so. I don't think our number 1's gonna be the same. I think you may be surprised. I think you can be surprised at my number 1. Like I said, all 4 of these could have been number 1. Like, I mean, I put them all in the same category. These are movies that I didn't enjoy. But Fast and the Furious, and you know, it's the same thing as the Halloween 3. You know, it really, it's in the same universe, but it's not the same movie. I mean, granted, I hate this. This is the only series that people love that I can't stand, and I've only seen 2 of them. The first one and this one. So you know, it's just awful. It's a bad movie. I didn't like it. So yeah.
Wow. So now I'm interested in your number 1, but my number 1 worst sequel of 2023 is Pink Panther 2. That is my worst sequel of 2023. It is just, I love Steve Martin. I love that he tried it. The balls to try this, to take over that character. It's, you know, people have obviously done it in the 70s and 80s, but just, I don't know. It was just too over the top. It was just trying to do too much, you know, just too much. But yeah, that's really, Alfred Molina and wanting the bet of being right in a tutu. Yeah. Or a pink tutu. It was just like too much of these jokes. But yes, that's my worst sequel of 2023. Jamie, I can't wait to hear yours. This is,
I have 2. I actually have 3. Like I had a lot that I didn't like this year, you know. Okay. I'm going to tell you an honorable mention. First of all, is Psycho 3. I did not like Psycho 3.
Yeah.
The storyline just, again, you struck gold with 1 and 2. I just think they were pushing their luck with 3. I did not like 3. It was close to making a list, but it didn't. I would say Pink Panther is definitely between Pink Panther and 300. Like, those were the 2 movies that I put at number 1. And I had a hard time choosing. So I'm going to give us half a credit because we both had Pink Panther right there.
Okay.
But 300 also, I mean, it was the last movie we watched. And, you know, again, I like the action scenes, but it was a struggle to get through. I don't know if it deserves number 1 because Pink Panther was just awful, but it's definitely in my top 5. So I'm going to go with Pink Panther.
Pink Panther, but 300 did give
We've
us
come a long
this
way to stroke
amazing
your
line.
cock whilst watching real men.
Which why are we doing that in these movies?
I know.
It's so
yeah.
silly. Wow. So
Yeah.
now I think we have to just go the whole, or how about we break it a little bit? Because I know the next ones are going to be the characters' best and worst.
Yep.
So how about we? Because this is always interesting. Like top 4 ridiculous scenes. From 2023. So I have with these. I don't know if I really put them in some sort of order because I think they're all pretty ridiculous.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
To put them in order. So I would just say one of them and just go like that.
I think I sort of wrote them in order. So my number one just ridiculous thing, and again, I know it's a comedy movie, but it's one thing that's stuck in my mind, like while we were doing the review and then even afterwards. I think it's a funny gag, but in Problem Child 2, when the town that Ben Healy moves to is the most divorced women in America, and the fact that they just wanted him so bad, it was just really weird. Like nothing, R.I.P. John Ritter's the best, but the fact that they were like, I don't know, they wanted to bone him. They were lining
up, and they never met him before. So it's like they didn't know. Yeah, I know. No, that's a good one. Problem Child. It didn't. I mean, listen. You could have picked a lot from Problem Child. I mean, of ridiculous scenes.
No, I know.
Every prank could have been a ridiculous scene.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good one. I'm gonna go. I have a few. I'm gonna say one of them that I have is in Piranha. That the fact that the girl is pregnant from Piranha. If I remember correctly, she got pregnant from a piranha. Is that like that? She was
in the water. Yeah, she got
in the water.
In the water. Yeah, when she
and then
did you just touch me? And remember, she got mad at the guy, even though they were making out. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing to me?" Yeah,
yeah. And it was a piranha. And then she gave birth to a piranha, right? Or something.
And the piranha jumped out of her
and bit his penis
off.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I would say that's in my top 4. I don't. Again,
that's pretty ridiculous.
That's a ridiculous scene. So that was up there.
Oblivion 2 for me. Number 2 for the dude. Well, number 3. The cutting the tattooed map that was on the guy's penis. Which why would he have it there?
Why would he have it there? And why? Notice that the first 2 have to do with penises. So we just had 2 penis ridiculous scenes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but why of all we just said that what? Now I can understand maybe if it's a big map, then maybe that's impressive. They have that it's something. But what if it's like a small map?
Yeah.
Or what? Can you read Can you read the whole map if it's at its normal state?
No, I think that's why Lash would do that. But the weirdest thing when you think back to that scene was there was already the other guy in the room. So the guy thought he was going to hook up with her, and then there was a guy behind him. So almost grab his arms for the cutting of it. But yeah, so that's on there for me.
All right, that is pretty ridiculous.
Next one? Is your next one penis related again?
No, but it kind of related to my first one with the eels. I'm going Blair Witch. With her foot, the cut on her foot, and the things was it did eels come out of her? I don't remember. Didn't something come out of her foot?
No, there was bugs coming out, gross,
bugs,
centipedes or millipedes.
Yeah. But it was just from a cut on a. She stepped on a rock, and then somehow all these the infection caused these things to crawl out of her foot, and it was pretty gross. And so I'm gonna go with that scene.
Yeah, so a witch did that, and it was in the water when she cut her foot. It was so bizarre. That whole
and again. My case before, they kept going. At that point, she was bleeding all over the place. You would say, we're not that far in. Maybe we should take her to the doctor. No, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Yeah. Okay.
Let's keep it rolling. So mine is Taken 3. The warm bagels solving the case. Obviously, there's other things involved, but the fact that he goes, I knew it from the beginning. Because the warm bagels, who would buy warm bagels and then kill their kill their ex? And it's people could do that. They could just snap in that moment. What does it mean? Warm bagels will get somebody off in court? But yeah, that was so ridiculous. And then the ones that I wrote down were the ones that stuck out. I don't even think I even had to look at the movies because I was just man, what were some real questionable things? And
you know what? I don't think we're not gonna have any of the same. And that just shows you how ridiculous of the movies that we watched this year.
Yeah.
Because because now that you said that, there's so many more that are coming to mind. Like there were so many ridiculous scenes in all these movies that we watched this year that it seemed like an odd year. So
all of Badass 3 could be there.
Oh, ridiculous. Oh, I got news to you. So like we just watched 300 and there's so many ridiculous scenes in that one. And I'm going to go with the fact that Eva Green cuts the guy's head off and then makes out with it.
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
I mean, and again, the jokes that go along with that she carried it around and all that. But I mean, like she makes out with a decapitated head. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why? So, I mean, yeah. So that was up there for me.
Yeah. Oh my God. And my number one, I was hoping I had it in my list still, the clip, but I guess it went away somehow. But it's gotta be the homecoming party in Psycho. It was in Psycho 3.
Psycho 3. Yep.
Huh. That homecoming party, just woo! And it was like 5 people.
The whole football team was 5. It was 5 people. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I have Psycho 2 as a ridiculous scene. So we're I guess this counts as being on the same level, I guess.
We're close.
We're Psycho. Close. I'm going with the fact that Dennis Franz's sleazy character is like starting trouble with a murderer. Like Norman Bates is like a psychotic killer, and he's like antagonizing him to basically say, "I dare you to kill me." Like that's the way he talks and interacts with him, and like I don't think anyone would. I mean, if you saw Jeffrey Dahmer in a diner, wouldn't you stay like far away from him? Dennis Franz is like really like pushing his buttons to see when he can explode. So I'm gonna say
he goes to the diner where he works.
Yes,
and goes at him. Yeah,
no one would ever do that. So I would say that's pretty ridiculous.
That's one of my in the clips, so you guys can look on our social media at Sequels Only on Twitter. When I put up a video, I took like a few seconds of all the sequels that we covered, and that was like the only clip I could that I had to pick from Psycho 2.
Oh,
was just when he's like, "Hey, what's it like sleeping with a psycho?"
yeah. Such a good character.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So,
all right.
Yeah, those are some good ones. Those are some really good ones.
I say let's go to interviews because we can end on the best and worst character. So, and I'll start, and I'm going to say
interviews we don't have to go in order because they're so hard to pick because there's so many good stories from the people. But
correct.
Who do you got for?
I'm just in general though. Like I picked 2 of them. I picked because and again, all the people that we interviewed, I think were very humble and they really they told good stories, but like 2 of them I thought were like really excited, really into the interview, and just like the conversation was so casual that it was just like you could tell they really enjoyed being interviewed. But I'm not going to go there yet. So I'm going to start off with Mark Holton, and just because we got Chubby, we got the guy. I mean, like he's just such an iconic 80s guy that the fact that we got him, I put him on our like Hall of Fame list. Like I think he's definitely up there, in the top 10 of like just great. I mean, everybody's been great, but that's Mark Holton. So I'm going to go with him.
No, I know. No, and then the fact that he was just happened to be in Jersey like 3 weeks after I talked to him, I was able to meet him, which is like such a cool thing. But so he's on I agree with you. He's on my list too. So I'm gonna since anytime we have matches here, I'll throw in a different one. I'm gonna have to go with like Sam Irvin, director Sam Irvin. He worked on like the Oblivion movies, and I think the cool thing about him was his history of being a kid when he was a kid, having his own like magazine that was a horror magazine. That he would like interview people like Vincent Price and have all these relationships with all these people in like the old horror, like the Hammer horror, and that he directed Elvira's Haunted Hills. So he had some cool stories about working with Cassandra Peterson. So no, he was really cool because he really loves movies. Like ever since he was a kid, his dad owned movie theaters, so he was like always in it, and then he had that opportunity to work for Brian De Palma, and then boom, he's like working on all these big films. Who do you got?
Okay,
who's up
got
next?
My next one, Denise Duff.
Yeah,
Blood Fist
Denise.
5. You know what? I went back and you know, I wanted to watch some of the clips, of the interview clips, and just watching her just tell the story of the T-bone of the car for, you know,
Yeah.
it just the way she was telling the story and the way she just, again, just talk like she was like just like someone that you've known forever. Like the way she talked to you, and told stories, I just thought she was just very down to earth and just a cool storyteller. So I'm going with Denise Duff. And that the T-bone
Yeah.
story of the car chase was just ridiculous.
Yeah, so good. And I'm gonna go kind of like a connection to that one. Her buddy Kevin speared us, so she connected us with Kevin, which is really cool. And Kevin is, legendary soap actor and legendary horror because he's been a final boy twice, and we were able to cover him a year prior in Friday the 13th Part 7. And this year we did Hills Have Eyes too, which was a solid sequel, and he was so good in it. So it was cool to talk to him about his career and how he went from, he was working on like Six Flags doing like a competition there, and then boom, he gets a soap opera, and he's good, man. I love talking to Kevin. He was cool when she said she can connect us with him. He was just one of those people to talk to. Again, Friday the 13th is like my favorite franchise, and it was so cool to talk to him about that entry because it was so different. It was another one. Like 5 was obviously different. 6, they brought back Jason, he's zombie Jason. 7, Jason was like so strong, and they had like these different elements in it. And yeah, so
And he
that's
always
one
played.
of
I
the
mean, he played like cool characters in his movies. I mean, The Hills Have
yeah,
Eyes, which, by the way, you just made me think of someone from the
Pluto.
next category. Yeah, I mean, you know what? He didn't. Well, we'll get there. So,
Yeah.
so my next one, I'm going to go with Agnes Bruckner, and
Yeah.
the reason I'm going with her is because, when I was talking to her before like I know like she's never done podcasts, and she's been in a lot of movies that I never realized she was in. But she was so excited to do the interview. When I was originally talking to her, like she was like, "Oh, this is great. I had never done it." Like, and even when we posted it, she was excited. And then again, to hear her story about Anna Nicole Smith, who I think she turned the role down at first because she felt
Yeah.
like she didn't have anything to do with Anna Nicole Smith, and then to watch her in Vacancy, um, which I thought she was incredible in, put me on the radar of just her as an actress. Like I started looking up some of her movies because I think that she easily could have been in more movies than maybe she was, and I know she's in a lot, but I think she's such a good actress, and I think again, giving her the humble pie, I think she was just so excited for this for the interview, and I thought she was great.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And
Yeah, no.
another one that again, when you talk to her and when you watch her whole interview, she again acts like she would like you could have went like you've known her for a long time. Like that's how she
Yeah,
was.
totally.
So
No, she was great. No, just the ending of Vacancy too. She could definitely do like a action movie.
without a
Like the
doubt,
ending thing of her hiding, sort of setting up traps and stuff. It was cool.
without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. And that was a good one. The next one for me is it was so cool it's always fun to talk to directors and actors, but it's sometimes the people
I
that
think we
come
have the
up with
same.
these ideas
Oh, okay.
that kind of change it all and kind of like invent a horror genre that is so unique that was never done before. And that's Jeffrey Reddick, the creator, the writer of Final Destination 1, but the one that he had his heart on that he loves is the second one
Well,
because it was most of his script stayed in there. So yeah, Jeffrey Reddick.
okay. So my last one is a unique interview for us, right? Like you said, we've interviewed writers and directors and actors and actresses and all that, a bug guy,
Bug
so
guy,
like
man.
so I would say this is like this interview was like the bug guy, like bug guy is a very unique interview. This was someone that, who would ever expect to interview a stunt pilot?
Yeah,
And I'm going to go with Fred North
it's
because
a good one.
again, it's someone. He's probably someone that doesn't get a lot of interviews, but such a big part of movies, and it's just cool to see or hear about other parts of movie making process outside of the norm. Right. You can hear about everything else, but there's a lot also being a stunt pilot, that's needed. And I just think again, it's such a unique interview because you don't hear that kind of interview, with anyone else. So I'm going to go with him.
No, that's a good one. No, that's a good one. And my number one, well, not number one. It's like all
Yep.
of them are so good. And then
Yep.
after I read this one, I'm going to read off all the other names, some of the people that we talked to over the year. But one that I think was so cool because I've loved so many of the movies that he worked on doing the music for, and shows that he composed, like 21 Jump Street, Weird Science, the TV series, so many things that I grew up on, and just the fact that his father is a legend, in Peter Bernstein. So his father Elmer, it was cool when I get to talk to these people and I hear these amazing stories, like the Animal House story that he told me, that John Landis is his buddy in high school, and John Landis, when he's
So
pitching
cool.
Animal House to Universal, said, well, you know what? I'm going to get Elmer Bernstein to score it. And they're like, Elmer Bernstein, he doesn't do comedies. He would never do it. And then because he was friends with his son, he picked up the phone and said, yeah, I'll do it. And then that changed his career and Elmer's career, because then Elmer, for the next 10 years, is doing Ghostbusters, Stripes, every big comedy. It was his score.
He was my honorable mention. And again, I think that goes along with, you know, Fred North. Again,
Yeah.
You're someone that deals with the music. You don't hear a lot of interviews about people like that, and it's a unique side of movie making. And he was my honorable mention. He was my fifth.
Yeah, no, there were so many good ones, and I'll run through the ones that we didn't mention. Director, producer, editor Norman Buckley, we talked to earlier in the year. Patrick Gallo, actor, director Harold Zwart, director Brian Levant, actor Lyndon Porco, who played
Oh my
Leprechaun,
gosh.
Griff First, Margene Holden, James Moses Black, Sam Irving, Jeffrey Reddick. Just read them off so I don't skip any. Jared Cohn, who was pretty cool doing those indie movies. He did Atlantic Rim Resurrection. Kevin Spiritus, Denise Duff, we mentioned. Nathan Howgard. And then we had that big stretch. We had Devani Penn, too, from Jersey. She was big in a bunch of horror movies. So, and then we had that stretch of, when nobody could do any interviews. And then really the only few that we have for this year are, Fred North and Agnes Bruckner to finish out the year. But yeah, no, it was a good year. And I feel like, man, we have so many that are coming up. I can't wait at the end to tell you our first sequel of 2024, which would be good. But let's get into the sequel characters.
Okay.
So the top 4 sequel characters. I'll go first. My number 4 is one that I couldn't stop thinking about her. Lash from Oblivion 2. I could not stop thinking about her. Obviously, she's different when you watch Mortal Kombat 2. But man, she's just so good in that movie. She's such a badass in that leather. And I love the fact that she plays the same character in Wild Wild West. Same thing, same everything. But yeah, that's my number 4. One that I'll never forget.
You know what? That movie's come up a few times for you. Like that's been on your radar. That's like one of your holy grails.
That's the Brinks truck. It's taking home awards.
All right, so Pluto didn't make my list, and it should have. And so I'm gonna say Pluto is definitely could be in my top 4 or 5. But I'm gonna go with my number 4. I'm going with Teak from Battle of Endor.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, and I know you loved Teak, and again, that movie has to get. Listen, the movie's not great, but I mean, for that character, again, a character doesn't say any lines, but had such a impact in the movie. Silly, and had the cuteness of it. It was just a movie, a character that I think the movie needed, as a side character, and I think I'm gonna go with Teak for number 4.
That is a good one, man. No, he was so good in that. And again, people like him so much that there's a dedicated Twitter page of Teak that always retweets every time we post that.
That's amazing.
That clip from that one. But yeah, no, he had this vibe of the Domino's Noid. He kind of
100%. Yeah, so, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Absolutely, that's funny.
So that's a good one. So the next one for me, it's pretty. He could have won. That's how good this one is. But short round.
Wow! Holy smoke! Fast landing.
Short round. Step on it.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones. Hold on to your potatoes.
Insane that a kid that is that young in an action movie with a mega star already at this point of his career, Harrison Ford, he holds his own every scene that they're together. and he's good in his scenes. Like the way he helps Indy so many times in the movie, it's great. It's a shame that they never did another one with him in the 80s.
That's a good one. No, that's definitely a good one. So, okay. I'm going to go so this one is just because he was so off the wall and so like again, he plays the role great, but such a scumbag, and I'm going with Toomey. Dennis Franz. Right? I think his name was Toomey.
Yeah.
I'm going with Dennis Franz in Psycho 2. It was just the character he played. I mean, he played the character so well. It was that sleazebag, like just gross. Like, he doesn't shower. He probably has a porn collection in the back room. He's just a dirtbag, and he plays it so good that it's funny to watch. Like, and especially again, and I know I mentioned it before, it's like funny to watch this dirtbag interact with a psychotic killer and not have a care in the world. Like, just and he wearing the dirty white t-shirt and just like he played the role so well. So yeah, I'm going with Toomey.
He nailed it. No, that was a good one. I thought you were going to pick somebody else from the Psycho movies. I was going to get a little upset if you ended up in that list. But so my next one, my number 2, number 3, or however you want to look at it, Stifler from American Wedding. The guy, just like you mentioned when you had it as your number 1 sequel of 2023, he is just so good in that role, and I really hope they are doing another one with him back and everybody back, because he just owns the movie. Like, that dance scene kind of makes the movie. Like, the rest of his scene, the way he can play like the nice boy for January Jones, and then he plays like the asshole like behind his back. It's so good, man. It's such a he's so good.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, my number 2, you already said Short Round. Without a doubt. I mean, this kid, I mean, he steals every scene he's in. He had to be like 12 years old, or whatever, like and he does such a great job. Listen, he does action, he's fighting. I mean, and you're 100% correct. He should have been in more movies. And without a doubt, now I only watched half of the new one because it's a rough one to get through, the brand new one. And the fact that he's not in it is just ridiculous, because, really, to me, that might have made the movie better. And he was obviously great in Goonies. And he, to me, he was one of the best characters in Goonies, without a doubt. To me, he was one of the best characters, and I think he should have been in more movies. Or honestly, have a spinoff. Like, what did he do when he's not around Indiana Jones? Have a short round movie or something.
No, that would have been good. So, no, they could have done that, especially target young audience, because they did young Indiana Jones not that long after that. But so my number 1, and I think this one, if this was like an Oscars, this movie would kind of steal all the categories. And my number 1 sequel character, Norman Bates, Psycho 2.
Okay,
it's really like what he did in that role, which should never be able to be done. Like we talked about it before we started with like Axel Foley, like seeing him play that role, it's going to be almost 30 years. Yeah, it's going to be 30 years. I think the Beverly Hills Cop 3 was like 94, 93, 94. So like, that's hard to get back into a character. So what he was able to do in that role was just so good. And he was perfectly weird, and he was perfectly so good at making us think, especially in the second movie, like one way when we were totally wrong, which is it was amazing. Really.
No, he's really good. I mean, he could have made a list. He didn't make mine. But yeah, you know what? He's up there as well. I know I was trying not to go with the too obvious. I mean, obviously he's such a great character, but I'm going with another one you said as my number 1. And I'm going with
number 1.
Go ahead.
Wait, is it Lash?
It's Stifler.
Yeah, Stifler.
100%. Like like he controls that movie. You take. I mean, and Jim is funny too, but you take him out and you leave Stifler in there, the movie's gonna be funny. You take out, Shipbricks or whatever his name is, the movie's still gonna be funny. You take out Stifler, it changes the whole dynamic in a movie.
Oh,
And you're
yeah.
right, like that dance scene, as short as it is and as silly as it is, just gives you that tone. He just does it so good. And just he plays that Stifler role like such a, everybody has that friend that's such an a-hole, but he hangs around with everybody, right? And he does that role so good. And then when he does the switch of like playing the kiss up to the mom and everything else, and then he's like smirking, it's just so good. And I think he just makes that movie. And listen, honestly, he makes all the movies. Jim was good in the first two, and he's definitely important. But to me, Stifler was that character. Like you're waiting for, like, all right, what is Stifler going to do next? And that's what you're waiting for. So yeah, he's my number one.
It's a good one. And now
so we had two. We had two in that category, so not bad.
It's pretty hard. You got to think we covered 30 sequels, 31 sequels this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow.
All right,
that's pretty good. Let's see if our worst one.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I have a few of these, but I'm gonna go with the entire cast of the Blair Witch group. I couldn't just pick one. Like I said, between the annoying friend that walks off on his own, and you have like the hillbillies and just everybody. It was just like, honestly, I know we had some actors and actresses that were in other stuff and they were good in that stuff, but in this movie, there really wasn't a likable character. Like I could care less if the witch killed them all, again, the movie is not good, but the characters made it worse. And if we had better characters, maybe the movie would have been better. But I'm going with the whole cast.
I like it. I agree. That's a good one. I don't have that. But my number 4 is Jeff Fahey in Psycho 3. He was just, again, it could be one of those. He's the best at playing like the creepy guy, or he's just, to me, I just hated his character. And it just, I don't know, it just ruined the tone for the movie. After we got through the second one, like 2 weeks before, that we'd never seen before, and then we go to this next one, it was just creepy. Like the almost rape scene in the beginning, and then he's working at the hotel, and then she has to stay at the hotel. Just like this really weird
such a creep.
thing with him. And his room had all those nudie photos within hours. He put them all up. Yeah.
He looks like he would be best friends with Toomey. Like I can see like them being like roommates. Like they were just like the two creepiest. Like Ugh.
That's the only way you get the job. Norman only or whoever was doing the hiring. So I know they hired Toomey when he was in. Was in the. But
they also hired Fahey. Then okay. All right. I hate putting this person on my list because I absolutely love him. However, we already mentioned his movie before. The role just does not fit him. And to me, he does such an injustice to the original character. And I'm going Steve Martin.
Wow.
I don't like, again, he's awesome, Steve Martin, but Peter Sellers was one of a kind. And the way he portrayed Inspector Clouseau was like almost like a mockery. Like it just, like it could have been done so much better. And I just feel like he just went so over the top with it, with the accent and everything. It was just awful. And Steve Martin, Steve Martin's awesome. I love him, just not for this role.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's a shame because I love the trying of it, but it was just too much for each one.
Yeah.
So so my next one is the creepy hotel owners from Vacancy 2. Just because the fact that they went from, hey, we're just selling these like, hidden camera sex tapes to truckers, and then, oh, you know what? We're going to change our business model. We're going to go to murder videos. That's a big upgrade. That's not like a bakery saying, you know what, we're going to start serving pizza. Like this is a big change to go from sex tape to. So they were just they were terrible. They didn't really. Yeah,
they were. No, they were
bizarre.
Honestly, Fahey and Dennis Franz could have played the same exact role.
They could have worked there.
They would have been those two guys that are spying on and everything else. So that's pretty good. So. All right, so I have someone here in the same category as Steve Martin. I hate putting him on the list because he's a great actor. Now, I had questions if this movie was done this year or 2022. So I hope it was done this year. And this movie wasn't mentioned yet, which is getting me concerned that it wasn't this year. But did we do Lethal Weapon this year?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going with Joe
Our
Pesci.
first movie of the year. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going with Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci as
Leo gets
real estate agent who knows about termites.
You know, they took a funny character that wasn't in the movie too much in the second movie. You know, he had the signs parts. They gave him too big a role for the third one, and I just felt like it was just too much. Like it was just like it again, and not for nothing. Riggs could have made my top 5 favorite characters because Riggs is awesome. Riggs could have been up there.
When he almost shot a guy over a jaywalking ticket and he kept his job. Yeah.
He's awesome. But I mean, Lethal Weapon, the whole series, even 4 is great with Jet Li and everything else. Like I love the series, Lethal Weapon is great, but to have Joe Pesci in there too much, it made it silly. And it took away from the Lethal Weapon buddy cop vibe to me. So I'm going to put Joe Pesci. So again, very similar to Steve Martin. I don't like putting him on a list, but for this role, he should have been one and done. They shouldn't have brought him back.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. So now I'm feeling mine are obscure. Ben Healy's new wife in Problem Child 2. I forget her name from SNL. She was on the first cast. Lorraine Newman. And God, just how obnoxious she was. And of all the women in the neighborhood, you had the woman that he actually went on that date with that was peeping outside the window in the jogging outfit. It was really attractive. And then he goes with this Lorraine Newman, tall, weird looking girl.
Well, she was very aggressive. So, maybe that was something to do with it. So yeah. That's a good one. Oh, she was annoying. So, all right. So my number 1, you want to do it? Well, before I say
number 1. Wait, number
right, we're number 1, right?
Yeah.
So, but before you put the drum roll, so well, no, go ahead. I don't want. I'll talk about because I want to explain before I say the name. Okay. So this character is a big part of why the movie, I think, wasn't as good as I remember. And I'm going with Willie Scott. I thought Cape Capshaw, right? So I thought that her character was so annoying. And oh my gosh. It was again, almost like the Joe Pesci syndrome, right? You have Indiana Jones and forever one of the best series ever. I mean, I'll even take the bad movies. Even the one I'm going now, he is one of the best characters ever, but with her scenes and her role, it slowed the movie down. Right, it became this love and hate thing between him, Harrison Ford and her, and so it slowed the action down. Where you take the first one, it's all action, it's nonstop, and then you go to Temple of Doom. Even the third one is all action, but the second one slows down with the stupid elephant ride and going here, and just the hotel room, and it just slowed the vibe of the movie. And she was just all she did was scream the whole movie. I feel like she ruined it, and if she wasn't in it, the movie would have went by much easier. So she's my number 1.
Okay, that's a good one. I can get that. Yeah. So so that's a good number 1. So my number 1 is again sort of obscure, but it's again something that was such a hard and annoying part of a movie, and for me, it's one that I'll never forget. And that is the dad from Tokyo Drift. Remember, he doesn't talk to his son at all, and his son shows up and he's clearly passing off a prostitute for her to leave, and it's just really when we were watching that movie, he's just a terrible person.
He's awful.
He really doesn't care about his kid at all, and he doesn't even when he's there, he doesn't really acknowledge him. So yeah, he's a real piece of shit until they sort of steal his car at the end. So that's, I guess, something.
We have a theme with all our movies of bad parenting. We rarely have movies where we say, you know what, those are good parents. I don't know if we have any movies like that. Every movie we have at least 1 or 2 bad parents with their children, and that's a prime example. He was an awful parent. He hasn't seen his son in how long, and he was almost annoyed that his son was there. When he came in and everything else. So yeah,
man, you're interrupting me, my lady.
Yeah,
or maybe he was a pimp. One. I don't know. But so that was that's 2023 in review. One person I have to mention from a movie that should have been on one of our lists. I don't know how, but Hasselhoff in Piranha 3 Double
Oh
D.
my gosh.
He was really he really owned. That was the first time I ever saw him being himself and sort of making fun of himself really good. So that's one that I made sure I mentioned before we end 2023. And I know Jamie said before we started, looking back at 2023, he was like, wow, this is pretty rough that what we're dealing with. But man, we're kicking off 2024 with a bang, with what I would say is easily my favorite sequel in the franchise, but one of my favorite horror sequels of all time. I love the college setting. I love the cast, and that is Scream 2. And for it, this was like an interview that was one that I've wanted to do a long time ago. And I think we had his email a while back. Then Jamie connected with him, with editor and director Patrick Lussier. Wow, he connected with Wes Craven when Wes Craven was doing this NBC Saturday night show called like Nightmare Cinema or something like that. And he was the editor for it. Wes loved him, so he worked on everything. He worked on New Nightmare. He worked on all the Scream movies that Wes directed. So every movie that Wes did post 91, Patrick was the editor, and then Patrick went on to direct. So he directed like the Dracula movies, the ones with Gerard Butler. So Gerard Butler's big break. He did Ghostrider. He did the remake of My Bloody Valentine 3D. So like so many cool movies, and he's another one of our guys that we talked to that are in that like melting pot of Vancouver in the late 80s. First thing he did editing on after school was on 21 Jump Street. So it was cool to talk with him about his career. And yeah, Scream 2. I cannot wait. When was the last time you saw it?
A long time ago. What's his name? I'm trying to think of what's the guy's name that's in there.
Jerry O'Connell.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So right. So that's I remember it. I kind of remember the end a little bit, but I saw it a long time ago. So no, this would be refreshing. Listen. We're starting off the year right. We're starting off with a good series like we did. But we did start off with Lethal Weapon. And look where it got us. So I'm hoping maybe 2024 will be a little different. And we're starting off with another good series. And maybe it will keep going up. But, I think the problem also is when you start the year off like we are with Lethal Weapon and Scream, you're kind of setting the bar pretty high.
We are.
So you can only go...
the year before was Aliens.
Okay, right. Okay, right. So think about it. All 3 years, we're starting off always with a bang, and then it just seems to trickle down from there. So
but I think Jamie crushed it. Once the writer's strike ended, we have so many amazing movies and amazing interviews coming up. Like a bunch of the interviews are in the can. So we're good for a while. So it'll be a lot of fun. And we have really, really awesome movies that we're going to be covering. So yeah, so I think the only way to end the year is with this while I play us off.
I'm waiting for that.
So yeah, you watch Scream 2, and then next week going to be director and editor Patrick Lussier. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.